Have you ever said something and immediately wished you could take it back? We all have. Words, they are powerful. They can heal, inspire, but they can also wound, destroy relationships, and even sabotage your own life. Today, I want to share a simple but life-changing secret learned to keep your mouth shut. Yes, silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. And in the next few minutes, I promise you will see why saying less, thinking more, and listening deeply can transform your life in ways you never imagined. Let's dive in. You see, silence is not just the absence of sound. It is a sign of strength, a mark of inner discipline, a reflection of your awareness. Many people think that staying quiet is weakness, that if you don't speak, people will think you don't have an opinion, or worse, that you are afraid. But in truth, the strongest people in this world are often the ones who speak the least. Why? Because they understand the power of words. They know that words are like arrows. Once released, they cannot be brought back. And sometimes a poorly chosen word can wound more deeply than a sword. Think about it. How many times have we rushed to speak, only to regret it moments later? Perhaps we said something in anger, or we tried to correct someone, or we joined a conversation without thinking. And then immediately, there was that sinking feeling in our chest. The "I shouldn't have said that" feeling. That moment is a gift from life, reminding us of the importance of restraint. Those who learn to hold their tongue, to pause before speaking, they cultivate a kind of inner strength that is invisible but palpable. People notice it even if they can't always put it into words. Silence also gives you space, space to reflect, space to observe, space to connect more deeply with yourself and with others. When you speak less, you listen more. And when you listen more, you understand people better, you read situations better, and your responses become thoughtful rather than reactive. There is a beautiful quote that says, "Speak only if it improves upon the silence." Imagine if we all lived by this. The world would be a calmer, wiser, and more compassionate place. And here's the secret. Learning to keep your mouth shut is not about suppressing yourself. It's about mastering yourself. It is about choosing when your words will create value and when they are unnecessary. The world is full of noise. People rushing to speak, arguing, complaining. But those who know the art of silence, they stand out. They are respected, they are trusted, and their words carry weight. So, the next time you feel the urge to speak impulsively, pause, take a deep breath, ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this helpful? Is this kind? That simple pause is a demonstration of strength, a strength that is far more powerful than any loud words ever spoken. Remember, silence is not emptiness, it is presence. It is wisdom. And when you cultivate it, you begin to live a life of deeper meaning, greater peace, and more authentic connections. Think before you speak. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But if it were that simple, the world would be a very different place. Most of the conflicts we face, most of the misunderstandings, most of the regrets that keep us awake at night, they all begin with words spoken without thinking. Words are like seeds. Some seeds grow into beautiful flowers, and others grow into weeds that choke everything around them. And once you plant a seed by speaking, you can't take it back. That is why thinking before you speak is not just a good habit, it is a superpower. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who, in a moment of frustration, shouted at his friend over a small misunderstanding. He didn't think, he just spoke. The words cut deep, the friendship was hurt, and it took years to repair that bond. Contrast that with another person who, in the same situation, held back, took a deep breath, and chose his words carefully. The same disagreement happened, but the outcome was completely different. The relationship remained intact, respect was preserved, and even the other person felt valued and understood. That is the difference thinking brings. When you pause before speaking, you give yourself the gift of awareness. You step out of the immediate emotion, whether it is anger, fear, jealousy, or even excitement, and you ask yourself a simple question. Will what I am about to say help or hurt? Will it uplift or destroy? Will it matter 5 minutes from now, or even 5 years from now? That pause transforms your speech from being reactive to being deliberate, from being destructive to being constructive. Thinking before you speak is also an act of respect for yourself and respect for others, because every word you speak leaves an impression, every word you release shapes the world around you, and every word becomes part of your legacy. When you choose words carefully, people begin to see you as someone trustworthy, someone wise, someone grounded. And that kind of reputation is priceless. The practice is simple but requires discipline. Before responding, take a breath. Count to 3. Reflect on what you truly want to communicate. Choose clarity over confusion, kindness over criticism, and truth over convenience. Over time, this habit transforms not just your communication, but your entire life. People notice the calmness in your voice, the thoughtfulness in your responses, and the authenticity in your presence. They are drawn to you not because you speak often, but because when you do speak, your words carry power. Remember, speaking without thinking may win a moment, but thinking before you speak wins a lifetime. It builds trust, strengthens relationships, and protects your peace. It is one of the simplest yet most profound ways to lead a life of integrity, wisdom, and impact. And it all begins with that small pause. A breath, a thought, a conscious choice to weigh your words before they leave your lips. Avoid gossip and negativity. This is one of the most powerful lessons you can learn in life, yet it is also one of the hardest. Why? Because gossip and negativity are everywhere. They surround us like invisible clouds, creeping into our conversations. Our social media feeds even our thoughts. And most of the time, we don't even realize the damage they are doing, not just to others, but to ourselves. You see, when we speak negatively about someone else, even in a casual or harmless way, it creates a ripple effect. That negative energy comes back to us in ways we cannot control. It affects our mindset, our relationships, and even our own peace of mind. Think about it. How many times have we joined a conversation about someone's flaws, their mistakes, or their weaknesses? Maybe it felt entertaining at the moment. Maybe it felt like bonding with others. But deep down, did it really serve anyone? Did it make anyone a better person? Did it bring you inner peace? Most of the time, it does the opposite. It clouds your heart, it weighs your mind, and it plants seeds of judgment and resentment. And when you carry that energy within you, it influences how you see the world, how you treat others, and even how you speak in your own home or workplace. There is a story I love to share. A young man came to me, frustrated and exhausted. He said, "I don't understand. I try to be kind, but everyone around me seems toxic. I can't escape negativity." I asked him, "How often do you talk about others behind their backs?" He paused. Slowly, he admitted, "Maybe more than I realize." And then it clicked. When we gossip, we are not only pulling others down, we are lowering our own vibration. We are training our minds to notice flaws, to judge, to criticize. And in the process, we forget to focus on growth, love, and positivity. The secret is simple but profound. Choose your words carefully. And choose your company wisely. Surround yourself with people who inspire, who uplift, who encourage. Speak words that heal, words that uplift, words that guide. And when you feel the urge to gossip or speak negatively, pause. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Does this add value? Will it spread light or darkness? Most of the time, the answer will be clear. And in that pause, you will discover a freedom you never knew existed, a freedom from unnecessary drama, from wasted energy, and from emotional heaviness. Negativity and gossip are like poison. Even if we taste a little, it begins to affect our entire system. But choosing silence, choosing positivity, choosing to speak with integrity, this is like taking the purest medicine for your mind and heart. It creates inner clarity, strengthens your relationships, and builds a reputation that people respect and trust. Over time, you become someone who is known not for talking about others, but for inspiring others. You become a beacon of positivity in a world that is often filled with noise and criticism. So, the next time you are tempted to join a negative conversation, remember this: your words are your power. Use them wisely. Guard your speech as you would guard your heart, because what you allow to flow from your lips flows into your life, shaping your character, your peace, and your destiny. When you make this choice consistently, you are not just avoiding gossip. You are cultivating a life of dignity, respect, and true happiness. Listening is more powerful than speaking, yet so few of us truly understand it. We live in a world that constantly tells us to talk, to express, to make our voices heard. But in that rush to be heard, we often forget the value of being present and actually listening. Listening is not just waiting for your turn to speak. Listening is giving your full attention, your full heart, and your full mind to another person. It is the act of truly being there, without judgment, without distraction, without planning your next response while the other is still speaking. And when you do this, something magical happens. People feel seen, they feel understood, and they open up in ways that words alone can never achieve. I remember a young professional who came to me frustrated. He said, "I feel invisible at work. No one respects me. No one listens to me." I asked him to try something simple for 1 week. Instead of trying to make his point heard, he would listen carefully to everyone else, his colleagues, his boss, his team. By the end of the week, something remarkable happened. Not only did people start seeking his opinion, but his own perspective became more respected. Why? Because when you listen first, people feel valued. When you listen, you understand the true problem, not just your perception of it, and only then can your words carry weight. Only then can your advice or your opinion have impact. Listening also brings wisdom. Think about it. Every person you meet knows something you don't. Every experience you hear about is an opportunity to learn, grow, and expand your understanding. But if you are always speaking, always trying to prove yourself, always sharing your story, you miss this opportunity. Silence and attentive listening open the door to insight, empathy, and perspective. You start to see life not just through your own lens, but through the eyes of others. And that is a gift few people cultivate, yet it is one of the most powerful skills for personal growth and meaningful relationships. And here's something else. Listening protects your peace. When you listen before reacting, you avoid unnecessary arguments, misunderstandings, and conflicts. How often do we respond too quickly, fueled by emotion, misunderstanding, or assumption? If we paused, if we truly listened, the conflict might vanish before it even began. Listening is a shield, a tool of wisdom, and a way to navigate life with greater calm and grace. But there is a challenge. True listening is rare. Most of us are busy formulating our next statement, defending ourselves, or thinking of how to impress others. That's not listening, that's waiting to speak. True listening requires humility, patience, and the willingness to put another person's experience above your own need to be heard. It is an act of generosity. And here's the secret: the more you practice it, the more people will naturally come to you, trust you, and seek your guidance. Your silence, when combined with listening, becomes your power. So, the next time you are in a conversation, try this. Don't rush to reply. Don't try to finish the other person's sentence. Don't judge what is being said. Instead, listen deeply with curiosity and empathy. Let the words sink in. Observe the emotions behind them, and only then respond if necessary. You will notice a shift not just in others but in yourself. Listening transforms your relationships, your understanding, and ultimately the quality of your life. It is a power more profound than speaking, a gift more valuable than gold, and a habit that will shape your character and destiny in ways you cannot imagine. Silence brings clarity. Have you ever noticed that in the middle of chaos, in the middle of noise, our thoughts become jumbled, emotions flare, and decisions feel impossible? Life often moves so fast, our minds so cluttered, that we fail to see the path in front of us. But in those moments when we choose silence, when we pause, when we step back, when we simply breathe, clarity begins to emerge. It is in silence that we hear our true voice, the voice of wisdom that often gets drowned out by the noise of the world, the opinions of others, and the constant chatter inside our own minds. I remember a young man who was frustrated about his career. He was constantly worried, constantly seeking advice, constantly talking to friends and family about what he should do next. The more he spoke, the more confused he became. He came to me one day, feeling lost, and I simply asked him to spend a few moments in silence every day. No phone, no distractions, just him and his thoughts. At first, it felt strange. The silence was uncomfortable, almost unbearable. But after a few days, something remarkable happened. His mind began to settle. His priorities became clearer. He could see the steps he needed to take, not because someone told him, but because he gave himself the space to listen to his own heart. Silence allows us to step away from emotional reactions and gain perspective. When anger, fear, or disappointment strikes, we often respond impulsively, only to regret it later. But when we embrace silence, we create a buffer, a sacred space between stimulus and response. In that space, we gain insight, we choose our words carefully, and we act in alignment with our values rather than our emotions. Silence becomes a teacher, guiding us to thoughtful, measured actions rather than impulsive ones. Moreover, silence gives us the ability to reflect. Life moves quickly, but reflection allows us to pause and learn from our experiences. In silence, we can ask ourselves difficult questions. What truly matters to me? Am I living in alignment with my values? Am I treating others with kindness? These questions often go unanswered in the rush of daily life, but in silence, they reveal themselves with surprising clarity. We begin to understand not only the world around us, but also the world within us. And here is the beauty of silence. It strengthens our relationships. When we pause and listen, instead of speaking without thinking, we allow others to feel heard, valued, and understood. When we choose quiet over unnecessary words, our presence itself becomes comforting, reassuring, and impactful. People are drawn to those who exude calm and clarity because it is rare in a world full of noise. Silence also cultivates inner peace. When we stop talking, when we stop worrying, When we stop chasing approval from others, our mind begins to settle. The constant mental chatter fades. We experience a sense of freedom, a sense of grounding, and a sense of connection with our true self. And from this place of clarity and peace, our decisions, our words, and our actions carry wisdom and purpose. So, the next time life feels overwhelming, the next time confusion clouds your mind, choose silence. Step back, take a deep breath, and allow the quiet to work its magic. In that silence, you will discover clarity. You will find direction. You will find the answers that were always within you, waiting patiently for you to listen. And in mastering the art of silence, you master not only your mind, but also your life, your relationships, and your peace of heart. Words shape your destiny. Think about that for a moment. Every word you speak is not just a sound, it carries energy, intention, and power. Words are like seeds planted in the garden of life. Some grow into beautiful trees, offering shade, fruit, and comfort to all around them. Others grow into thorny bushes, causing pain, creating conflict, and blocking the path for yourself and others. And what many of us fail to realize is that we are constantly planting these seeds with every conversation, every comment, every reaction we share. Imagine a young person full of dreams who constantly speaks negative words about themselves. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. These words, repeated often, become beliefs. They shape their actions, influence their choices, and ultimately create the very life they fear. On the other hand, consider someone who speaks words of encouragement, gratitude, and hope, not only to themselves but also to others. I will try. I can learn. I can grow. Those words fuel confidence, open doors, and attract opportunities. Words have a profound impact not only on the people around us, but also on the trajectory of our own lives. And it's not just about personal growth. Words shape relationships. The way you speak to your family, your friends, your colleagues, even strangers, determines the quality of your interactions. A kind word can heal a wound, a harsh word can scar for life. A word of appreciation can strengthen a bond, a careless remark can shatter trust. Every word leaves a mark, sometimes visible, often invisible, but always lasting. The world may forget what you said, but people will never forget how your words made them feel. Think of great leaders, great teachers, and great spiritual guides. What sets them apart is not just their actions, but the careful, deliberate way they choose their words. Their words inspire, motivate, and transform lives. And you too have that power. Every time you speak with awareness, every time you choose words that uplift rather than harm, you are shaping your destiny, one moment at a time. But this requires mindfulness. It requires asking yourself before speaking, does this word I am about to say bring value? Does it bring peace or conflict? Does it build or destroy? And if the answer is unclear, it is often better to remain silent. Because silence, in this case, is not emptiness, it is protection. Protection for your relationships, your peace, and your destiny. Remember, destiny is not just a product of actions or luck. It is the cumulative effect of thoughts, intentions, and words. Speak wisely, and your words will become bridges to your goals, your dreams, and your happiness. Speak carelessly, and you may find yourself entangled in unnecessary conflict, regret, and misunderstanding. Words are the architects of your life. They have the power to create or to destroy, to heal or to hurt, to uplift or to diminish. So, cultivate the habit of speaking consciously. Speak with intention, speak with kindness, speak with clarity. Let your words reflect the highest version of yourself. Because when you do, you are not just communicating, you are creating. And what you create with your words shapes the story of your life, the quality of your relationships, and the legacy you leave behind. Protect your energy. This is one of the most important lessons we often overlook in life. Every day, we are surrounded by situations, people, and conversations that demand our attention, our emotions, and our reactions. And if we are not careful, we can give away our energy to things that do not deserve it. Arguments that go nowhere, complaints that drain us, criticism that hurts but teaches nothing. Energy is precious. It is the very fuel that drives our mind, our body, and our spirit. And once it is spent carelessly, it is very difficult to regain. Think about it like this. Imagine your energy as water in a vessel. If you pour it into every crack, every small task, every trivial interaction, eventually your vessel will be empty. You will feel drained, exhausted, and overwhelmed. But if you protect your energy, if you choose carefully where to invest it, you will have a vessel full of power, clarity, and focus, enough to nurture your dreams, your relationships, and your inner peace. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it is wise. It is not arrogance, it is awareness. There is a story I love to share. A young man was constantly stressed at work and home. He complained to me, "I feel like I have no energy left by the end of the day. I don't know why I am always tired." I asked him to observe where his energy was going. He realized that he was constantly involved in other people's drama, constantly arguing with minor inconveniences, constantly worrying about things he couldn't control. The result, he had nothing left for the things that truly mattered: his health, his goals, his family, and his peace of mind. Once he began protecting his energy, choosing his battles, avoiding negativity, and focusing on what truly mattered, he felt lighter, stronger, and more present in every area of his life. Protecting your energy also means being mindful of the words you speak. When you speak unnecessarily, complain, or engage in gossip, you expend energy that could have been invested in growth, learning, or kindness. When you react impulsively to someone's criticism or anger, you drain yourself emotionally, physically, and mentally. But when you pause, reflect, and choose your response carefully, you conserve your energy for what truly deserves it. Moreover, protecting your energy is about choosing the right people to surround yourself with. Life is too short to invest your energy in those who bring constant negativity, judgment, or drama. Instead, spend time with people who inspire you, uplift you, and encourage you to grow. Your energy is like sunlight. It nourishes, it grows, it multiplies. And the more you protect it and share it wisely, the more it comes back to you in abundance. Finally, protecting your energy is about setting boundaries, not to shut others out, but to create space for your own growth, peace, and well-being. It is about recognizing that you cannot give what you do not have. You cannot support, inspire, or lead others effectively if your energy is depleted. When you protect your energy, you create a life of balance, focus, and inner strength. You become like a reservoir of calm and clarity that not only sustains yourself, but also radiates positivity and stability to those around you. So, choose wisely where you invest your energy. Guard it as you would guard your most precious possession. Let go of things that drain you and embrace those that uplift you. Protecting your energy is not just about surviving life, it is about thriving in it with focus, peace, and purpose. And when you do, you will find that your life becomes lighter, your relationships deeper, and your journey far more meaningful than you ever imagined. Wisdom is in the pause. In today's fast-paced world, we are conditioned to react immediately. A message comes in and we reply instantly. A situation arises, and we respond without thinking. A misunderstanding happens, and we jump to defend ourselves. But here is the truth: most mistakes, most regrets, most conflicts in life are born in the absence of a pause. If we can learn to pause before we speak, pause before we act, pause before we judge, we open the door to wisdom, clarity, and self mastery. Think of it like this: our minds are like turbulent rivers, full of emotions, thoughts, and impulses. If we act while the water is churning, we risk being swept away by our own reactions. But if we take a pause, allow the water to settle, suddenly the river becomes clear, the path forward becomes visible. The right words, the right actions, the right decisions reveal themselves naturally. That pause is not hesitation, it is awareness. It is the space where your mind and heart align, where emotion and intellect meet, and where true wisdom emerges. Let me share a story. There was a man who worked in a high-pressure office. Every day, he felt cornered by demands, deadlines, and difficult colleagues. One day, a colleague insulted him publicly. His first impulse was anger, to shout, to retaliate, to defend his pride. But instead, he paused. He took a deep breath, counted to 10, and considered his response. By the time he spoke, he chose words that were calm, measured, and even kind. The situation that could have escalated into a major conflict was diffused with a single pause. That pause preserved his dignity, his relationships, and his peace of mind. Wisdom had entered because he had allowed space before action. The pause also teaches patience. Life will often challenge you through misunderstandings, disappointments, or provocations. When you pause, you give yourself time to reflect, to weigh consequences, and to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. This not only prevents regrets, but it also builds trust and respect. People naturally gravitate toward those who respond calmly rather than react angrily, who listen before judging, and who act with intention rather than impulse. Moreover, the pause gives you control over your emotions. Without it, anger can erupt, fear can dominate, and pride can blind you. But when you pause, you create a space where your higher self can speak, a space where empathy, understanding, and perspective guide your actions. That pause transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for growth and maturity. It transforms reactions into deliberate choices, and choices into the foundation of a life lived with wisdom. The beauty of the pause is that it is simple, yet profoundly powerful. It costs nothing, requires no tools, and yet it can change the course of your day, your relationships, and even your destiny. Every time you practice pausing before speaking or acting, you cultivate self-mastery. You show the world that you are not a slave to impulse, but a master of yourself. That simple act of restraint, repeated consistently, builds character, earns respect, and brings peace both to you and to those around you. So, remember this: the next time you feel the urge to react, to speak without thinking, or to judge without understanding, pause. Take a breath, let the moment settle. Listen to your heart, consider the consequences, and choose wisely. Wisdom is not in speaking first, it is in pausing, reflecting, and then speaking with awareness. That pause may seem small, but it carries the power to transform your life in ways words alone cannot describe.